your ideal client comes across your message, however you're getting it there, cold calling, emailing, LinkedIn, it doesn't matter. They always have the same question. This is their first of 3 questions. Their question is, should I pay attention? Is it interesting? The job of your marketing and selling system is to lead them to their brain to go, yeah, that is interesting. Why? Because you're talking about exactly what I'm struggling with. You're talking about exactly what I want.
This is Experts Unleashed, revealing how professionals and entrepreneurs transform experience into income while positively impacting the world. For years, Joel Irway has helped entrepreneurs develop and launch their expert-based businesses, growing them beyond 6 and even 7 figures a year. Now, a professional expert serves their community through paid training, education, or service. This podcast will help you design and execute your plan to become a 6 or 7 figure expert without a massive team. To get more information or apply now, visit theperfectexpert.com. Let's get started.
Hey, what's going on, experts? It's Joel here, and welcome to another very special episode of Experts Unleashed. And guys, you are in for an amazing interview today. I've got my very special guest, a very good friend of mine, Dov Gordon, on, and we are going to be talking about Dov's superpower, Dov's specialty with getting consistently ideal clients for your coaching and consulting business. Dov, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Joel. Good to be here.
Dov, you and I connected maybe about 2 years ago. You run a very popular kind of ultra secret group. I don't know if you want me to publicly name it right now, but you run an ultra secretive group where we were introduced a couple of years ago, and it's a very fantastic group. But for anyone who doesn't know who Dov Gordon is, give our audience a quick 30 to 60 second introduction on the man, the myth, the legend.
The man, the myth, the legend. Wow. And no time to create something, make something out, huh? I guess I have to go with the truth. The ultra secret group, it's not so much ultra secret as not that very well known, but not that very well publicized. But that's, we're not looking for publicity. So fair enough. 18 years ago, I was 21, 22. I realized I needed to do something to earn a living. Married, kid on the way, or one kid. And I had been studying business over the years, ever since I discovered that section in the library, a block away from home, the business section, the personal development section, reading on all different topics. And I'd heard about business coaching at some point. I found a course, enrolled in a course, became a business coach. I had no idea what I was doing. I mean, I didn't know that I had no idea what I was doing, but I had no idea what I was doing. The next 7-8 years were an uphill battle trying to figure out how to take my skills and my genuine, I have a talent for it. I learned that talent isn't enough. You got to have skills, develop skills. I learned that skills are not enough. You've got to have marketing skills and systems and processes and so on. These are the things that I learned the hard way over the next 7 or 8 years. And it was a real uphill battle at times because I'm not a natural salesperson. I'm not a natural marketer. I think that there are probably more people like me than there are natural marketers and salespeople. There are a lot of people who are really good at what they do. And they wake up in the morning and they look around and they say, okay, I don't want this corporate job anymore. Tired of all the corporate politics and whatever and limitations and slowness. I want to do my own thing, and I can really help people with my skill set. Some of them make an easy transition to private life, so to speak, solo consulting, starting their own small firm. Others find that it's a lot harder than they thought, and they're not the natural ones. They're the ones who maybe they're really good. They can have a good conversation one-on-one, but they're not the life of the party. They're not looking to become celebrities. They're not looking to become Facebook ad ninjas. They're not looking to become content marketing machines. They just want to do great work with great clients and make a great income. So over the years, because I kind of had to figure way too much of that out for myself, about 10 years ago, I shifted track and started teaching some of the things that I had figured out to other people like me. And we've gotten better and better at it over the years. And we've helped thousands of customers and hundreds of clients to start to earn a really good income with what it is that they're good at. Consultants, some coaches, small professional service firms. That's what it is.
One of the things that you mentioned earlier, which I thought was really interesting, you said what you learned early on, talent's not enough. You need skills. Then skills aren't enough. You need marketing chops and systems and operations. What did you identify as your talents early on that kind of got you on this initial path? They're like, hey, I could do this.
I'm going to try to answer you. Before I want to say this is that I've been listening to your podcast. If anyone happens to hear this as the first episode, they should go listen to others. That's a really good question. All right. You're really good. And I've noticed that in other episodes as well. No one's ever asked me that before. And I'm going to see if I can answer you that. But I just really want to say that. So what I identify as my talents earlier on, I think I'm good at listening. And apparently that's a skill that we all need to improve. My wife says I'm not good enough at listening. She may not say that outright, but I know it's true. So
my wife calls it selective listening, and I'm usually tuned off when I'm listening to her.
We're good with clients, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know what the problem is. I'm getting a little better all the time, I think. I like to think. I know I'm working at it all the time, all right? But anyway, when it comes to business and so on, I'm pretty good at listening. I think I have a sense as to what people like. I do seem to care, if I genuinely care about people, perhaps more than some. Like I'm not driven to dominate. I'm not driven to win. I really, I'm fine with winning. I think it's a good thing. Like winning, not necessarily that there has to be a loser, but often you could win. It's a strength and it's a weakness, because in some ways, like when I had to learn not to take too much responsibility for a client's results. Abraham Lincoln, who's over my right shoulder here in the office, there's a great quote from him I heard years ago. He says that the worst thing you can do for those you love is that which they could and should do for themselves. And as a consultant, as a coach, there are certain things that you cannot do for the client. And if you're taking that on as part of your responsibility, you're giving yourself stress that prevents you from doing the parts of things that are your responsibility as well as you could. Mm-hmm. And you're really not helping them step up and learn and master the skills and the behaviors and the systems, whatever it is that they need to grow into in order to get what they want on a consistent basis. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's kind of a rambling answer, thinking about it now that you asked me.
Okay. But, so let's focus on something that you said that I think we can go deeper on. You said you're a really great listener, right? And so the way that I'm kind of thinking about this entire everything we talked about so far, and I think it's very relevant for anyone who's trying to find their way, trying to find their path. Listening is a skill that there's a lot of value in, and I can speak personally because I've had similar comments. Like if I think back before I launched and became an entrepreneur, and I would have a conversation with somebody like, hey, you give really great advice, or, you're a good listener. I've heard both of those. I'm like, okay, great. Well, how do I turn that into money? Right? How do I can't just like go out and promote myself and say, hey, listen, I'll listen to you. Right. Mm-hmm. It's like that development and that transformation of going from, talent to skills to then marketing. Like that's an evolution that has to happen.
That's another really good question. This, I think I have a more thought out answer to that.
Okay, cool.
So when it comes to marketing and expertise, when it comes to marketing and selling whatever it is you want to be marketing or selling, whatever your consulting or service is, you have to understand people are not buying what you think you're selling. People are not buying coaching. People are not buying life coaching, right? They're buying, not even a coach buys coaching. They'll buy what they think you can help them get. And the way I like to think about it is you've got to talk about a problem they have and don't want, and or a result they want and don't have. Those are the only two things that will get the attention and interest of your ideal client. If you talk about your experience, talk about your credentials, you talk about anything that you think is interesting, it's not going to work unless you're touching on a problem they have and don't want, and or a result they want. And now we can go deeper into that if you'd like. When you're able to listen well, you're able to hear people describe what's frustrating them. And then you can peel off layers and get to the root of what is that problem that they have and don't want? What really is the result they want and don't have? Because if you have to meet them where they are to get their attention and interest. And that's really the hardest part of marketing, is to get the attention and interest of your ideal client, because everybody wants their interest, their time, their attention. And you do that by, there's an old saying in sales that a good ad, right, enters the conversation and going on in the mind of the customer, right? I forgot who said that, but I've heard it quoted many times in direct marketing world. Never read the book. Can't remember the guy's name. Maybe you could. You've heard that, right?
I've heard it. Yeah. And I can't pinpoint who said it, but yes, I've definitely heard it.
I reflected on that after hearing it a number of times, and I realized that, okay, well, what is that conversation going on in my mind, in your mind, in everybody's mind? All we're thinking about is a problem I have and don't want, and or a result I want and don't have. Now, the thing is that I'm thinking about it at the level I'm thinking about it. So, for example, I like to give an example of we have a client who was a life coach, and she was actually doing really good work with her clients. So she had clients, she's doing good work, but like she didn't have the words to describe what she's doing so that she can turn it into a simple, repeatable marketing and selling system. And I asked her, I said, make a list of the problems that you help solve, the results that you can enable, and we're looking for specifics. So she wrote down whatever she wrote down. I looked over her list and I said, that's it. You can build a business on that. And I don't remember exactly what she said, but what we ended up coming up with, what we turned it into was, what do you do? Instead of saying I'm a life coach, which is almost as bad as I sell life insurance. And now she says, what do I do? What do you do? I help women who wake up each morning wondering, if I'm so successful, why am I so unhappy? Mm-hmm. Now, you have to listen to get to that, because rarely is that like the first thing your ideal client going to say. They usually need it to be coaxed out of them. Mm-hmm. So one answer to your question, aside from becoming, I guess, a therapist, at least a listening therapist, is to, when you're really good at listening, you're able to really understand. And I have hundreds of such examples. We've helped clients really craft messages that is really compelling. I just got off the phone with a client who I worked with a number of years ago, and he started with me. He was he was employed 2/3 time, and he was trying to build his consulting thing on the side. He sells consulting and equipment and construction of a certain type, and he's an engineer. And he was doing several tens of thousands of dollars a year in that. Within 6 months of working with me, he was able to quit his job. I believe it was within 6 months. He might have quit a little bit after that. He had sold about $600,000 in consulting and equipment and construction. And he was able to then move his family back to where eventually it was, whenever it was, back to where he and his wife had grown up, so the kids could be with their grandparents and so on. Within a year and a half, 2 years later, he crossed $2 million. And just now, last month, he sold his first $7 million project. Seven figure. That would be $1 million project. Separately, he has another, like a recurring service that he's still using, messaging, that I helped him create a couple of years ago when he came back for some, a short-term thing. So when you have the right message, which is a combination of skills, you got to have the listening skill, and you also have to have some marketing and sales skills. That's something that can literally serve somebody for months. He's got that itself is a six-figure a year business, recurring revenue stream for him that mostly he's not actually dealing with. He has an employee who's dealing it, so he's got a nice profit margin in there.
Yep. I found time and time again that you have to be able to craft that message of what people are going to raise their hand to. And one of the most dangerous businesses, this is strictly my opinion, one of the most dangerous businesses to run is an early on referral only business, because there's a false sense of security internally to this person who may be making a couple tens of thousands of dollars or whatever they're charging, and they're making, some decent money, and they think that they're successful, but they've only gotten clients through referrals. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but
right.
They just think that that's going to be repeatable, when in reality, those clients have come to them because, hey, you did great work with John, so now John speaks very highly of you. John knows me. John knows my problems and said that John told me that I should go to you to solve it. And this goes on for a couple of clients, right? And so you have a false sense of security that you know how to market your business, that you know how to go get new clients in case those referrals dry up. We see it time and time again when clients come to us and they're like, I need a steady stream of clients. And so, we ask them what they do, and we go through the same process. And we end up having to transform their business, and they get very uncomfortable with it. Like, no, that's not really what I do. And anyway, you have to craft the message that will resonate with people who don't know you. And that's usually a lot different than what you think that you do.
You rarely have that depth of insight. What you described, I see all the time as well. It's people who, they do well for whatever number of years, and they think that, hey, I'm good. And then something external to them shifts or changes, and then suddenly they realize, oh no, I think I was a lot more lucky than I was good. And that's a real blow to confidence.
Yep.
It's a real blow to self-confidence. And that's why we're so focused on, like, I love working with clients who want to learn and master the skills. You know, you asked me what another talent. I think it's a talent. It's a skill, and it's something that I've honed over time into skills. Is really being able to suffer through something and then distill it down to the essence in the way that others can learn it faster. Okay, so it hasn't been easy. Business is never easy. You know, and if it is, then you're probably about to fall off a cliff, or you're really underperforming in life. You know, and then you probably have or you're lying. But there's always a challenge, and I think a big part of that is a challenge with yourself. You've got to constantly work on your discipline, your focus, not being distracted, not doubting yourself or not giving into the doubts. You know, reminding yourself of what you do have something valuable for certain types of people, and it's worth whatever you want to try, or whatever it is that you need to remind yourself of. So we're so focused on skills. And I think it's really important to learn and master skills. So, for example, the client I just mentioned, I remember that I literally got off the phone with him like half an hour ago because I heard about the seven-figure deal, and I wanted to find out. Hey, wow, that's great! You know, tell me about it. I was very happy for him. So there's certain skills that I taught him going back 4 or 5 years ago that he's still using. You know, at the time he was reaching out to other engineers, thinking that the engineers would sell him to their bosses in the company, and that wasn't working out so well. It almost never does. And we helped him get the language, the wording, and the confidence to reach out directly to the company presidents, to the business owners, whoever was that was actually going to make the decision to hire him. That was a game changer. We helped him master what we call the elegant sales conversation. He still uses that today. And we helped him develop a simple marketing and selling system, a simple process. The way he says it, when he first came to me, it's like he was doing 100 things in 100 different directions, and he wasn't making much progress on any of them. And what he wanted and what he got was that he had he could focus in a single direction, and he was making a lot of progress. And that's what was happening. So when you learn a small number of skills, I like to think of it as the critical 10% that gives you 90% of what you want. Mm-hmm. It serves you for life. And, you know, I heard you ask another one of your guests when I listened to some of your other episodes, as I said before, you asked them, what is a misunderstanding or a misperception that a lot of your clients have when they come to work with you? And I was thinking to myself, that's a really good question. I wonder what I would say if you asked me that one. So I thought about it. And, you know, and there are a couple of misperceptions that people come with. And one is that they think I don't know enough. I don't know enough. You know, I need more information. And I fall into that trap from time to time. I still fall into it, but I certainly did for many years. Is you think, oh, I need to get more clients. How do I go get more clients? And you have, you know, a line around the block of experts. This one says you got to be on LinkedIn. That one says you got to be doing podcasting or, you know, webinars, whatever. And they're all good. And you're excellent at it. I've studied your stuff. Every tactic is good, but we have to take a step back first. And this I know you do as well. Like you don't just hawk the tactics. You want to help with the strategy as well. You got to understand first, like when the tactic works, why does it work? When the tactic fails, why does it fail? Because it's not about Facebook ads. It's not about blog posting or Instagram and so on. There's some underlying commonality that all of these tactics can work and they all could fail. And most people listening have had experience of their own directly, or they've seen it with others. Why does it work when it works? Why does it fail when it fails? When you understand that, then you can really make your own system. Mm-hmm. You know, Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I remember hearing him say that in order to be able to say no to all the distractions on the outside, in this case, the shiny objects and so on, you've got to have a deeper yes burning on the inside, right? In order to say no to the distractions on the outside, you got to have a deeper yes burning on the inside. The reason why Philip, the client I was talking about, why he came to me where he was like, he was doing 100 different things, running in 100 different directions, was because he couldn't say no to all these ideas that would pop up and things I should do because he didn't have a yes on the inside. The yes meaning a simple A, B, C. If I do A, then B, then C, it brings me D leads and E become clients. As soon as you have that, and it's a simple process that works, more or less, nothing works perfectly all the time, and you have learned the skills to work that process, you know, just like a surgeon, there are processes for heart surgery, but you don't just read a book and follow the steps. You've got to learn the skills, right? You learn and master the skills. to work the process, you're set for life. Now, there's always going to be some new challenges and new things that come up and so on. But once you have a certain, there's what I think of as the critical 10% that give you 90% of what you want, that make you look brilliant 90% of the time. And after many years of running around in circles thinking, oh, I must not know enough. Oh, I must not know enough. Oh, Joel knows things I don't know. How could I actually put myself out there as an expert if Joel knows things I don't know? Literally, I would think things like that. I came to realize that, the world needs Joel and the world needs Dov. And, we're right for different people or different people at different times. And, I will never know everything there is to know. I'll never know a fingernail's worth of what there is to know. But there are a few things that if I deeply understand and master them, I could be really valuable to certain kinds of people. And that's a misconception that people have. They come looking for more information, and we help them understand, you already know enough. Let me help you more deeply understand the things you already know. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's mastery. And that's where they start to have real shifts and transitions.
If you're listening right now, it's really important to understand that for whatever service, whatever you offer to your clients, because if you can terrible word to say, if you can link yourself to the strategy and not the tactics, you will be of exponential value to your audience. Because here's what happens if you link yourself to a tactic, right? A tactic is something that they can point to that say it failed or succeeded, meaning, and it doesn't really leave much room for optimization, right? Like, oh, we launched this Facebook ad. Like, I'm a Facebook ads expert, and we launched this Facebook ad and it didn't work. They're going to point the finger at you because that Facebook ad that they hired you for doesn't work. And I'm just using that as a tactical example. But if you were to engage with them and say, okay, cool, let's look at the bigger strategy here and plan and map it. Like, it gives you this broader spectrum to be able to play with multiple tactics within that strategy. So if the Facebook ad doesn't work, okay, cool. Well, here's our overall strategy. Now we just pivot to something else. And that's a very expensive lesson that I learned. And I make sure that now when I'm working with clients, like I'm linking to a strategy. I'm not linking to a specific tactic. And that's even with the webinar agency business. And we have a very special way that we go about that. But I make sure that like we're linking to an overall strategy, and we're using webinars or mini webinars to, to achieve that strategic goal. I think that's very insightful that you just brought that up.
And another weakness in being, tying your stake to a tactic is that tactics change. Mm-hmm. That's what changed. And it's far better to master something that's timeless. And if you can master the ability to get deep insight into human nature and then to apply that to messaging and then to apply that, then you can, the way I think about it, I like to think about it like a red balloon and a blue balloon, right? You can have Bob and Sally. Bob is holding a blue balloon. Sally's holding a red balloon. Bob leaves go of his blue balloon. It falls to the floor, bounces off in the corner, hits a tack, and it pops. Sally leaves go of her red balloon and starts to drift up higher into the sky. And we're standing watching and we're thinking, that's beautiful. Look at that bright, shiny red balloon against the deep blue sky and the occasional white cloud. I don't want a balloon like Bob's. I want a balloon like Sally's. So we go out, smart guys we are, and we buy 2 bright, shiny red balloons, just like Sally's. And with a twinkle in our eye and a sneer at Bob, we take a deep breaths, blow up the balloon, tie a knot, and leave go and watch our red balloons fall to the floor and, pop right next to Bob's. And, we're crushed. We didn't get blue balloons like Bob. We got red balloons like Sally. And the answer, of course, is that, Sally filled her balloon with helium and we filled ours with hot air. And it's the same thing with marketing. Every tactic could work. Every tactic could fail. And if we get too wrapped up in the tactic, we forget that it's not the color of the balloon that makes it fly. It's what you put inside. And it's what you put inside that's invisible to those who don't see it. Mm-hmm. It's invisible to most people. But it's what makes all the difference. And the ability to listen well, and the ability to craft simple, compelling messages, the ability to lead an elegant sales conversation, the ability to distill a whole bunch of ideas and information down to a simple, repeatable marketing and selling system, the ability to ignore most of the distractions that pop up in your own head. I was on a call with our clients the other day. We have a small group of clients, and one person was listing, he had some ideas of what things that he could do. I don't remember exactly what the conversation was. I'm trying to remember, but he listed certain things. Look, I'm thinking that I should do this and I should do that and that and that. And I said, well, Well, look, those are all great ideas. Let's go back to the basics. Let's go back to, like, you mapped out your 90 days. You've got your priorities. Which one of these ideas that you just threw out are likely to outperform the key priority that you identified for the next few weeks? None. Okay, then don't do it. Stay focused. I mean, sometimes it's that simple because we get, like, there's so many things. Oh, this person says I should do that. And yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I bet if I do that, stick to what you're doing. Mm-hmm. Stick to the number one priority and get it done.
Yep.
These are things that when you have those abilities, then things start to add up. And instead of feeling like you're pulled in 100 different directions, instead of being overwhelmed, I've heard it said that when you're overwhelmed by all the things you need to do, all that means is that you don't have clear priorities. Everything is a priority if nothing's a priority.
I've never heard that before. Everything's a priority when you don't have a priority.
When you're overwhelmed, it just means that everything is a priority because nothing is a priority.
Because
everything seems to be equally important.
Yep. I think so many people can relate to that. Everything becomes a priority when nothing is a priority. And simplicity is like the end goal. Like that should be the end. At least it's for me. Yep. I don't want to speak for everybody, but like it should really be the end goal for like anyone who wants sanity, especially in the world of ultra connectivity and all of these different inputs that come into our lives. I think finding that one priority, that singular priority, it's much easier said than done. I've tried to go through the same exercise. I've never heard it put like that when describing overwhelm, but I think it's very, very valid. Very valid. That was one of those aha moments that, like, when you hear it, it's like, holy crap, like, yep, that makes sense. Like, okay, that's what happened when I heard that. And ultimately, yes, I mean, like, we have to be going towards that singularity of like finding that one main priority, because that's going to be your guiding light. Like that's the North Star of where you need to go. And it's difficult when, let's just say you're starting out in business and you're trying to find those opportunities. You're trying to find that one thing that you're going to be able to latch on to. You need to get clients. You need to find your first client, whatever it is. It's very, very difficult to hone in on that one priority, but it's very powerful.
Well, it is very difficult, and I'm not going to pretend it's easy. It's a daily struggle for me as well, but another misconception, or it's related to what I said before, people are coming and they think that, like I said, I need more information, but what do they actually need? Most of what we need is, we don't need more information. We need to learn how to think better, how to feel better, as in managing our emotional states, and how to work better. That's what most of us need. We need to more deeply understand what we already know. And we need to think better, think clearer, feel better, be more in control of how we feel so that we're, in peak state as much of the day as we can. And we need to work better. We need to learn how to work. These are things that I did not understand getting started on my own without ever having a real job. These are things that I've had to learn the hard way over many years. And I'm still learning. Now, tying that back with this whole idea of marketing overwhelm, which so many people have, it's more common to be overwhelmed when your thinking is kind of surface level. You're skidding across the surface of life, so to speak. You're skidding across the surface of what's involved in marketing. So, for example, if you ask, everybody knows you need a marketing funnel. Everybody knows that, right?
Yep.
And then you ask people, why do you need a marketing funnel? What's the purpose of a marketing funnel? And everybody gives more or less the same answer. Well, it helps you fill your pipeline. It helps you close deals, make sales. Okay, good. Now, what should I do? And then you get 1,000 different suggestions from 1,000 different people, or 1,000 different suggestions from 200 different people, some contradicting each other. So you don't know what to do. But when your thinking is clearer, and I want to give you at least what I believe by it, feel free to agree or shoot me down. I have a different way of thinking about the purpose of a marketing and selling system. I think about it as this: the purpose of your marketing funnel is to lead your ideal client to answer yes, 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 to answer the number one question on their mind at just the right time. What does that mean? Let me spell it out. It doesn't matter what color your balloon is. It doesn't matter what tactic you're using, whether it's a webinar, whether it's a Facebook ad, whether it's a sandwich board on the street corner, skywriting. Your ideal client comes across your message, however you're getting it there. Cold calling, emailing, LinkedIn, it doesn't matter. They always have the same question. This is their first of 3 questions. Their question is, should I pay attention? Is it interesting? And we already talked about that there are only 3 things that get them interested. 2 things that get them interested. if you talk about a problem they have and don't want, and or a result they want and don't have. And almost everybody gets that wrong because it's not as easy, as simple as we talked about, right? It is simple, but it's not as easy to get to that simplicity. Like we talked about, simplicity on the far side of complexity is what we're looking for always as well. So first question, should I pay attention? Is it interesting? The job of your marketing and selling system is to lead them to their brain to go, yeah, that is interesting. Why? Because you're talking about exactly what I'm struggling with. You're talking about exactly what I want. Are you reading my mind? Well, yeah, I am. Well, okay. Who are you? Can I trust you? Are you for real? That's the second question. Some version of, can I trust you? Are you for real? So now the job of your marketing and selling system is to lead them to answer, yes, I can trust you. Yes, you're for real. And there's a couple of things that we want to do for that, to lead them to answer yes to the second question. And if your marketing funnel successfully leads them to answer yes to that second question, then instantly they have their third and final question, which is, okay, you got me interested. I really see I can trust you. You seem to know your stuff. You don't sound like everybody else, and you actually seem to care. Third question is what you recommend right for me? Is what you recommend right for me? And this is more the job of the sale. It could be the sales part of the webinar, like where you're making a recommendation, or the sales conversation if it's a one-to-one. Where you're making a recommendation, you want to package and present it in a way that leads them to feel, wow, this is exactly what I need. I didn't even know it existed an hour ago. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then congratulations, you've just got a new client, got a new sale, new client, because all you've done is lead your ideal client to answer yes, yes, and yes. Now, okay, this is a deeper understanding. This is not skidding across the surface. I had to walk you through it. However, look at where we are now. Rather than it's to fill your pipeline, fill your funnel, get leads, close deals, and I don't know what to do next. Now I know exactly what to do next, or it's at least much clearer. Okay, I need to put in place one thing that is going to lead my ideal clients to answer, yes, that is interesting. And then I need to put in place one thing that's going to lead my ideal clients to answer, yeah, I can trust you. And then I need to put in place one thing that's going to lead my ideal clients to conclude, yeah, what you recommend is right for me. Now, there's sometimes be a little more than one thing underneath each of those. But the idea is now you can focus your attention and say, okay, how do I get that result? How do I get the yes to the first question in my business? How am I going to get the yes to the second question in my business? How am I going to get the yes to the third question in my business? And now you're much more focused and you're not all over the place. And furthermore, it's not about, I have to do this because everybody's doing it or and so on. Now it's about, how do I get my A, then B, then C that gives me D leads, E clients, that burning yes that Stephen Covey talked about, so that you can simplify like you were talking about and just get the thing done. Focus on it. Shouldn't take over your whole life. And you have that consistency that's built on a process, that's built on timeless psychology. And then you learn and master the small number of skills, the critical 10% of skills that give you 90% of what you want.
So how long did it take for you to come up with those three questions?
I mean, there's the year, like I said, I'm very good at suffering for many years and then distilling things down in a way that other people can understand them more deeply than I did. So I don't remember exactly, but I could probably answer it two ways anyway, probably 5 minutes or 8 years. I don't know.
It's probably how we can answer most of our expertise. Oh, how long did it take you to do that? Oh, well, I thought about it in 5 minutes, but it took me 8 years it took me X number of years to come up with that.
Yeah,
I thought about
absolutely.
that in the shower, but it was after struggling for 12 years that it finally hit me. Like, this is what it is.
But that's what I say when I say we need better thinking, clearer thinking. And most of us were skidding across the surface, nodding. Hey, if someone says the purpose of a marketing funnel is to fill your pipeline, you're nodding. Yeah, you're right. Okay. That's surface level thinking. And all it takes is a quick one-liner and yeah, okay, got it. But we don't understand it. We don't even realize we don't understand it. But then we keep hitting the wall, bouncing off and running it like, I just not know enough. No, you just don't know what it means when we say the purpose is to fill your funnel. Mm-hmm. Now you know, right? Yeah. Better feeling, better emotion, state management. We've all heard about it. I first heard that from Tony Robbins when I was a teenager. Now I'm starting to get better at practicing it.
Yep.
And learning how to work. You've got to work from a calendar, a small number of priorities, block out distractions. I struggle with that every day, but I'm getting better at it all the time.
It comes down to the three core priorities. You have to think better, feel better, and then work better.
Exactly.
Of those three core priorities, which one do you think is priority number one? Like what do you have to tackle first?
Well,
let's frame it as an entrepreneur, obviously, because that's who
okay.
we're talking to.
I really think they're all important. I'm gonna weasel out of that one. I think because I think that they're all important. I think we need to work. It's like, do you need to do exercise or eat well? You kind of got to do both,
Mm-hmm.
And sleep too, right? So like you can eat well, do exercise, and not get enough sleep, and it's going to catch up to you one day, right?
Let's
So
rephrase the question then, because I do want to get an answer, because I think it's
okay. Rephrase the question.
So it won't be the question, how do we prioritize your top 3 priorities, or how do we make one of those priorities? But what do you think is the most difficult to get a grasp on?
Why are you asking that? Why do we have to choose one?
Because if I were to assume which one would be my priority number 1, I think it would be different than what the true correct answer is. Now, they're all important. I think we can agree that they're all important, but I think depending on whatever stage, I think it has to occur in stages. Okay. So me personally, I'll answer it. So when I started out as an entrepreneur, I definitely felt like I just needed to work really, 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 really hard, which you should. Like, you shouldn't just coast through life. I think it just provides poor discipline, but I would always think that like I had to hustle and I needed to work better. So I would have thought that was my priority number 1.
But working hard is not working smart, right? You got to work hard, smart. I think that's what you need to do. Like, you got to work hard, smart.
Yep. And so going down that path, totally agree with that. You have to work hard smartly, or work hard smart. That makes sense. So you have to work hard efficiently, right? And so I would have always prioritized that as number 1. About 8 months ago, I hired a nutritionist, very expensive nutritionist, to help me with my diet. So I feel better, because at that point, I realized how important it was and how much it would affect across the rest of my life and my business if I felt better, right? But it took me a long time to kind of come to that realization. Now, they're kind of all commingling. Around that same time, I also started to figure out how to think better as well. I was doing a lot of meditation and really just trying to get in a better state. But for me, the first step was work, right? Then it came feel and think. And those two are probably interchangeable. I think I probably started them at the exact same time. Actually, no, I think thinking better probably came first, then feeling better. So I hear you. See that also, you're describing your experience, your evolution, not necessarily the way it should be. I'm not convinced that anyone is more or less important. I think that's part of the challenge of life, is to constantly be improving. Is to be like, we do have to improve in all those areas. And we're doing all of them every day. We just need to get a little bit better at each one every day. Yep.
I think that some of them are easier to define than others. For example, okay, how do I know if I'm thinking better? That requires a little more thought, so to speak. How do I know if I'm feeling better? That's something that we could improve pretty fast, but will we do it? I know Tony Robbins just change your state, change your physiology, and changes your emotion. Emotion is created by emotion. Okay, I know that I don't do that as often as I should be. I'm guilty. Getting better at it, but guilty. And then working smart. There are certain disciplines that I track every day, and some days I use a spreadsheet. Some days it's more green, and some days it's more yellow and red. And as long as I really want to see that there's that it's mostly green, and tracking it helps me stay accountable to myself. So I don't know the answer. I can also share kind of a transition probably that I went through, and maybe it's in some ways similar to yours. But here's another thing. I also think these are certain things that we really need to learn from a mentor or coach or someone. There are things that it's not enough to. This is the difference between information and understanding. Mastery, right? You can acquire information. I guess it's data, right? Data and information is kind of out there. Knowledge is like once you've learned something and actually remember it. And then mastery is when you've applied it to a level where you can, where you've achieved simplicity on the far side of complexity in that domain. And, I think that if we identify a certain area, and we ask ourselves, okay, what am I trying to accomplish? All right. I'll throw number three out there, right? I think there are three things that we need to know, keep in mind at any given time. Number one, we need to be clear as to what are we trying to achieve? Where do I want to be a year or two, 5 years from now, more or less? I don't think we need to have down to the exact detail, but we have to have certain, I want to be in this type of situation. I want to work with these types of clients, more or less, this type of family situation. I have to have some kind of concept. It doesn't have to be so detailed, but it has to be clear enough that we can see it and aim for it. Number two, we have to ask ourselves, how do I need to be as a person to naturally fit into that picture, to that movie? If I'm watching that movie and I'm the way I am today, it's incongruent. It won't be a very convincing movie. Nobody will believe it. It's like the wrong actor, the wrong time period, the wrong complete disconnect. So how do I need to be as a person to naturally fit into that movie? And number three, what's the next small step towards that future? And now I need to take that step today as that future version of me would take it. And, part of that, if we break that down further, is how does that future version of me think? What does that future version of me think about the kind of problems that I'm facing today, with the kinds of decisions that I'm facing today? And very often that future version has a lot more clarity because we're overcomplicating it. That future version would look at it and say, just do that. Like, it's simple. So we're kind of getting out of our distractions and our pressures in front of us with some extra clarity. Okay, how does that future version of me feel? What do they? Well, they feel a lot more confident. They feel less afraid. They're more concerned about not living life than about what other people think, than I am today, perhaps. Whatever it is. Okay, so I'm getting a clear idea as to how I need the states that I need to be in from today, the emotional control that I'm aiming for today. And how does that person work? Well, maybe, I can imagine that person just realizes how silly it is to be distracted by news because you can't control any of it. Nothing matters. And you're not working the things you can control right. And then when you spend a little time every day kind of reflecting on these things, and then it puts you in the right state, clarifies your priorities, and you're ready to go. A lot easier said than done. It is simple. It is simple to talk about. It's not always easy to do, at least in my experience. I'm a fellow fighter here. I'm not here. I've mastered certain valuable skills, and that's what we work with our clients. But I'm not coming at this as like I have conquered the world. I know it all. So,
Dov, we talked about a ton of stuff today. Fantastic conversation. I've truly enjoyed this. This is a very deep conversation that I think is very important for anyone listening to there's a lot of self-inner work that they have to explore, and developing marketing is it's not a Facebook funnel. Like, it's not a Facebook ad. It's a lot of deep questioning, and especially if you're transitioning from trying to get off the referral train to getting something that's a little bit more stable and predictable. You have to go through a lot of these exercises of asking questions and it really getting the help of an expert who knows the questions to ask to extract that information and then transform that into the strategy that you can implement whatever the tactics are to achieve that end goal of whatever it is. Fascinating conversation. I've enjoyed a lot of the things that I've enjoyed everything we talked about. It definitely went in a direction that I wasn't totally expecting, but it was fantastic. Very, 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 very excellent conversation. Was there anything that we left out that you wanted to make sure that we included in our conversation today?
Well, not that I can think of. I mean, we could probably go for another couple hours, but I didn't come with a set agenda, so I enjoyed it as well. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Dov, where can people connect with you? Where can people find out more about what you can do for their business? I want to give something away that's actually really valuable, if I may. All right. Yep.
For 5 years, I sold this for $97. We call it my manual, how to systematically and consistently attract first-rate clients. And we sold it for 5 years. I did not write this to be a giveaway. But now I'm giving it away. And you can get it at dovgordon.net/unleashed for your podcast listeners. Unleashed. UNLEASHED. dovgordon.net. That's DOVGORDON.net/unleashed. And I've had people, from time to time, not every day, but there's always one that comes in here or there. I get emails from people, or people connect on LinkedIn, say I printed that out. There's zero fluff in this. How to systematically and consistently attract first-rate clients. There's zero fluff. It's really good. It's about 80-something pages. And I'll just say the reason I started giving away for free is because I realized that it would be a win-win-win. We were selling them, and once in a while, people would then come to me and say, "Hey, can you help me do this? I want to work with you," which is great. So I decided that we'll give it away, and it'll reach more people and lead to more people coming and saying, "Hey, I want to get your help." And that's why we do it. I'm being very upfront about that, because we do work with a small group of clients every month, helping them build a simple, repeatable marketing and selling system for getting good consulting or clients for their firm or coaching business. And that's that. It's a great place to start, because we have a lot of people who've gone through it, never paid me a dime, and they send me nice letters. And if that's you, that's fine too. But if you're one who wants to work with us, we welcome you as well.
Awesome. We'll make sure to include that link in the show notes. Dov, it's been a pleasure and an honor having you on the show. And if you're listening right now, go connect with Dov. Go grab his guide, and when you do connect with him, let him know you heard him on Experts Unleashed. And so we'll wrap up today. Dov, thank you so much for the conversation. I've enjoyed it immensely, and for everyone else, we'll see you on the next episode. Take care.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Experts Unleashed. If you're looking for new and innovative ways to design and execute your plan to become a 6 or 7-figure expert without the massive team, apply now at theperfectexpert.com.